Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Be an Australian reservist because I want a degree and to have a life. But I also really want to shoot guns and get my combat skills on. Go out every few weekends to train over a couple of nights out in the woods. That's right, woods. I'm in the little cold bit of land dangling off of Australia's ass. Summers are pretty hot, but winters can be cold. One such winter, be out on training, learning to tactically move around the bush with a based minimi. Also have a combat knife on my webbing because why the fuck not? Normal day. Few mock attacks with blanks. Lots of bush bashing and leeches. Harbor up on the side of a hill, just in the tree line overlooking a field full of dead white trees. One of the features of this state is these big fields with nothing but grassy bush things and dead trees. Picket rotation. Get given the shit part of the night. Woken up at oh fuck o'clock, pointed in the direction of the pit, and then the guy just goes to bed. Standard procedure is to walk the drowsy new sentry to the pit so he doesn't get confused in the dark. Stumble my way over to where I think the pit should be. There should also be another bloke there. The pit was located under a big bush, but all of a sudden there seemed to be a lot of those about. Head under one. No luck. Get turned around and end up walking around for like 10 minutes. Start getting a really wrong feeling, hard to place. I should not be here, not with a weapon, not treading on these plants. Shivering in the cold, wishing the link on my gun wasn't just blank. Eventually orientate myself and find the pit. Get down in the pit. Find the other guy snoring because slackness. Settle my bum down, wrap up tight, and start feeling better. Feel fully awake, so decide not to bother waking the guy until it's his turn to go wake another up. Staring out at the field, munching on M&Ms, one hand on the grip of the minimi. Feeling begins to steal over me again. Something doesn't like me being here. It sounds crazy, I know, but I mentioned this feeling to another guy and he said he knew what I meant. This is an old country, bro. Clouds begin to part above me, bringing in the moonlight, but letting out what little heat there was. Mist on the ground, half moon in the sky. I begin feeling something new, like a vibration but super deep, a hum in the ground. I feel it through my arse, and when I put a hand down, I feel it travel up my arm. Silent at first, but slowly begin to hear something. Sounds like something in between throat singing and a generator. It's ringing in my ears, getting louder. DEFCON 3, wake up, pit buddy. Sound disappears, pretend all is normal. Not long until he goes back to bed anyways, lucky cunt. Staring out at the field, I might have seen something in the grass bush things. Nothing definite, just a vague blackness. Ignore it. Keep hugging the minimi and breathing into my shirt to keep warm. The time has come to be left alone until I can get a new friend to suffer with me. Pit buddy leaves me alone, begin to feel fear again. Draw my knife and hold it under my jacket. At least a knife is a real weapon. It happens. The noise and vibration is back, really loud, feeling jittery. Can't believe it wakes nobody, but people quite close to me heard nothing. Staring out, increasingly freaked out. Suddenly see a head in the grass. At least kind of a head. A black circle with white eyes staring right at me from barely 20 meters away. DEFCON 1, shoulder the minimi because training. Thing just stares at me as the noise carries on. Just sit there for like a minute. Staring this thing out, don't even notice that the noise has stopped. Hear the new guy coming over, look around to see him and his escort, the guy who just left. Look back and see that the thing has gone. Barely even talk to the new guy. Just sit there staring around, must have looked super keen. Just don't want to get eaten. Checking my watch, desperate to get to the safety of a sleeping bag. When the time comes, I find my guy and, like a good soldier, lead him to the pit before I turn in. On my way back, it happens a third time. Drop the minimi, draw my knife, standing in the dark with this noise in my ears and moon shadows everywhere, no idea where to look. Freaked out beyond words, whimpering a bit. Call me a wuss if you like. Something out there made me feel fear like I've never even imagined. Then it's there in front of me. Barely 3 meters away, a little black figure barely a meter tall. You wouldn't believe how scary a little black humanoid could be unless you saw this thing. White eyes, little white spots glowing up his body, and I can tell now that it's doing the humming. I try to make a noise, but I feel paralyzed. I can't make a noise louder than a little whimper. Thing flows towards me. That's the only word I have for it. Didn't walk, was just suddenly and seamlessly climbing up my body. Silently screaming, mouth working, throat feels closed. Thing gropes at my hand with the knife. Little fingers were strong, man. Still trying to scream, unable to move. It only lasts a few seconds before I'm dropping to the floor. I feel like a fucking puppet without any strings. The next thing I knew, I was awake, and only a minute or so had passed. I was lying next to the gun and I basically just picked it up and ran back to my bag, where I slept immediately. I never told anyone about the thing, and I never got that knife back. No idea what it was, nor do I want to know.
Be my great uncle. In the Vietnam War, night after the battle for Long Tan, doing the rounds at night, get turned around. Can't see battle, bro. Can't find camp. Suddenly gets pushed and stumbles. Shoulders his L1A1. Nobody. Tactically, nope. But get pushed repeatedly every other step. Can't see anyone. Tries to yell, no noise comes out. Throat closed. Finds a tree and lays against it. Gun up as long as he can until he dozes. Wakes up at first light to gunfire. His mates engaged a small group of enemy less than 100 meters away. Follows his boot prints in the mud. Shows him as stumbling around like a Viet Cong. Landmine under every awkward step. Something had pushed him through 250 meters of enemy mines. Stopped his screams from alerting the enemy. Went to Nam an atheist. Came back believing in something.
In the Royal Danish Army doing basic training. On a field training exercise in March. Doing night ops training with our group. Split into 2 squads for the job. I get in the group without the drill sergeant. We're given coordinates for extraction after the job. For some reason, our squad leader, who's in charge of the navigation, is completely dumb when it comes to directions. We get completely off course. When we realize this, we consult our map and compass and find a so-so route back. Radio in that we're gonna be late. Know that we're in for shit later, but we sorta accepted it and blamed our squad leader. We follow a path through the forest in the general direction. Woods seem to get denser and denser. We suddenly find ourselves in a swamp that's not marked on the map. Decide to try and plow through. About 2 minutes later, we realize that's not gonna be possible since the water started going up to our waists. Turn around and head back to the trail. It's nowhere to be found. Thick trees now surround the area where we entered. We try to look at the map and compass to figure out if we went a different way. The compass needle spins at like 90 RPM. Everyone tenses up. Out of the corner of my eyes, it seems like the trees are moving, despite it being completely wind still. We trail the edge of the swamp for a good 15 minutes without finding a proper exit. Decide to just chop our way out. Draw field knives and start chopping away branches to make a clearing. I swear the trees around us started croaking. After we managed to get out, we just sprinted ahead until we hit a road. One of my squad mates managed to sprain his ankle during the sprint. We radio it in with our coordinates. We all get picked up by a drill sergeant. Gets railed on all the way back to camp and the rest of the field training exercise. But we were all still too horrified by that swamp to care. Our faces when back at base. Turned out people often disappeared in those woods, but that no one knew why. Jutland Woods, never again.
Old yarn I heard from a friend I grew up with back in the early to mid-90s. He went into the army as a pilot. I went into the army as an officer, caught up with him years later by chance in Darwin in the early 2000s. He tells me about the time he got roped into the Survey Corps, flying them around in a P-3 Orion as a co-pilot at the time, one of the first jobs he got. They were doing the WGS-84 map back then, plane loaded with the Automap 2, computers, IR lasers, and a fairly narrow band radar for mapping. Basically, fly around and make digital maps. Course, it was all a lot more primitive than the stuff we use now. Anyway, he's flying around in a grid pattern while they map it all out with the laser and radar systems. And the guys in the back start yammering away about something, and one of them comes up front to ask to have a look out. Flight officer puts up with his shit for a little bit, and then sends him back. By now they're in full damage control mode in the back about something, so my mate goes back to see what is up. Both the laser and radar go down to 250 meters, then stop. Directly below them, about 100 meters across, is a round object moving with the aircraft. Edges outside that 100-meter area display normal altitude, and he goes back to check the P-3's gear. This shit goes on for about 30 minutes before returning to normal, but they've pretty much fucked up an entire grid of readings, and they're genuinely scared in the back. Probably because someone will kick their asses for wasting fuel, but they get greeted on the tarmac by a lot of cranky people who tell them not to say anything while the job is canned, while the plane is checked out. It all checked out, okay, nothing wrong with the gear. The flight officer just smiled and said to my mate, "Not the first time it's happened."
Got one of my own. Not a skinwalker story, but some weird shit nonetheless. Apologies in advance for not green-texting it, but personally can't stand that format. About 13 years ago, I was an explorer in Oregon, the law enforcement cadet type thing. Joined up when I was 15 and had always wanted to be a cop. Spoiler alert, I have since decided to say, fuck that noise. Anywho, I'm doing the ride-along thing, and we get a call to go deal with a noise complaint up at a campground, one of those shitty-ass dry camps. Now this was during November. That sort of shit is supposed to be closed, but it was probably college pricks, hobo clan rally, or just normal Innawoods pallet fire. So we roll on up, don't really see any cars, but we see a giant-ass pillar of smoke up in the hills, a bit away from the campground proper. Looks to the deputy to be about 2, maybe 3 miles out. Fuck it, grabbing shotguns. The area is infested with tweakers, cougars, and bears. All I can say is, thank whatever powers that be he had the foresight to do so. We head up through a shitty, muddy trail, following a stream, as it's about the only accessible way up for us. We crack some jokes about it being the capital of the hobo clans and their annual meet to decide their king. Finally get up a nice ridgeline where we can see what is going on. Figured it was a good idea to get eyes on it before stumbling into some shit. And shit we did stumble upon. Bonfire probably 20-25 feet across. Probably close to 60 or so people down there. Most of them naked, painted up with blood, and I presume mud. Could have been literal shit. I do not know. At this point, we're in full DEFCON WTF mode. Decide to keep quiet for the moment. Perhaps this is just a bunch of crazy-ass Wiccans. Then we hear those reassuring words that calmed us down and did make me piss myself. "Hail Lucifer," from one of the few guys in robes. The rest of the crowd yells it back. So glad we brought guns.jpg. At this point, I'm wondering if shit can get any weirder or worse. And like every horror movie ever, yes it does. They bring out a goat, hold it down, and begin to skin the poor fucker alive. Ever hear a goat scream in pain? That shit is unsettling. One of the guys gets pointed at, and he looks happy as hell and hops on up to the goat skinning circle and wears the fucking thing while they toss the body onto the fire. About this point, we're spotted. I'm convinced I'm gonna die out here in the woods as a virgin. They start coming up the hill and fanning out, chanting and shit. Paranoia sets in. Do Satanist cult members Christian virgins? I ask myself in my head. Little voice inside of my head answers, of course not. That would ruin the virgin sacrifices, you idiot. Thanks, inner voice. Wait, can they tell? Internal panicking goes like that for a bit. Deputy stands up and begins. We're with the sheriff's department. We were called out here for a noise complaint, trying to be as civil as possible. I'm about a half second from pulling the trigger and saying, fuck it. I will not be skinned alive up on this shitty-ass mountain in the ass end of nowhere. We start getting the usual threats of how it's dangerous out here. People go missing all the time. But they keep about 30 feet back. After a few minutes, felt like an eternity to me though. The grand leader of this field trip comes forward and politely explains that this is just a religious ceremony. Technically, they're on private property, and that he's sorry about the noise and they'll try to keep it down, and apologizes for his flock's behavior. They tend to get riled up. Deputy figures that as long as they keep it down, and don't burn the forest down, that'll be all. Tense couple of moments as the group appears to be deciding what to do with us before their leader heads back down the hill, saying, "Come along," like they're children. We boot, scoot, and boogie back to the car, call in that it's all clear, and drive out of there like we stole the damn thing. After a bit, he looks at me. We never speak of this shit again. I concur. He lights up a smoke and gives me one. That is how I started smoking, by the way. Fast forward about 6-7 months. Been dating a cute chick from school. She thinks it's badass I'm an explorer. Eventually, she wants me to go to church with her. Shrug and figure why the fuck not. Sitting and glancing through the Bible when the priest walks up the front. Come along now, everyone. Shit, no less than 10 brick houses. Snap my head up, and yup, same ringleader. I am hoping and praying to literally any god that will listen that this guy found Jesus or something. Sermon goes by. I'm hoping that he doesn't recognize me. I mean shit. There's 100 or so people in there. At the end of the sermon, he's seeing everyone out, thanking them for their time. I decide to linger a bit with my girlfriend and hope that by the time he gets to us, he's just tired. Nope. Gets to me, shakes my hand. Oh, you're the explorer that came out a few months back. You do such good work for the community. We're having another get-together soon. Would you like to come? Polite decline and get the fuck out. My girlfriend is slightly confused by my sudden desire to flee this wonderful house of the Lord. Come up with a bullshit story that my last girlfriend and I had defiled the church with our grotesque lovemaking and he'd caught us. Little bit of interest at that. She's about as religious as me. She only attends church to placate her parents. Been about 13 years, I have never gone back up on that mountain, nor have I been, willingly or knowingly, within a mile of that church. Hell, I don't go to that side of town if I can avoid it. I straight up quit the Explorers a few days later. And that is my freakiest Innawoods story I got.
Be me a year ago with my buddy sitting near the waterline fishing. We are sitting in a way that we can see the path and the water. There is one path to the car and one going to our position. Only a big hill and grass above it, and a tree line maybe 15 feet wide going around the lake. The moon is shining so you can see even without flashlights. We have flashlights. I have some Fenix headlamp and Fenix LD10, my trusty companion, both capable of 100 lumens. We are alone on this side, maybe 2 guys on the other side of the lake also fishing. Sitting and talking when suddenly light shines on my buddy's face and arm for a second from the area of the path. Strange bit of yellow light like from the moon, only brighter. After a second it's gone. We hear nothing, just looking at each other. Ask my buddy if he saw it. Yep, he saw it too. Looking at the path to investigate. Nobody there. DEFCON 3, somebody is playing games with us. Take my Spyderco Paramilitary 2 in my hand, turn my headlamp on, buddy with me. Investigating. Nobody there. DEFCON 2, somebody is hiding, searching, shining both lights everywhere furiously. There is no way to hide there, and no way to run fast enough to not be seen, or to not make any noise. Checked everywhere. DEFCON spooky. Going back to our chairs joking about UFOs but watching the path constantly. Still thinking what could be the source of this light. No fucking clue. It did not look like a beam from a flashlight. Probably aliens. Stopped the time, anally probed my buddy, and fled away. That's the only reasonable explanation there is. Buddy may have implants. We never know.
Chillin' out on /K/. Buddy pulls up with Buddy 2. Let's call them John and Bill. John buys guns like he buys toilet paper. Me and Bill just have a few. Know them both from high school. I'm the only one into camping and bushcraft, but they both like to go outdoors if given the opportunity. Get in, loser, we're hunting the Honey Island swamp monster. Fuck it, let's go. Drive over to Louisiana. Park in a tourist trap swamp tour parking lot. Head in the swamp. Me and Bill have our Rs. John has his AK-74. Shooting snakes on the way in. Making the world a safer place bullet by bullet. Have my hammock and sleeping bag. John brought a 2-man tent for him and Bill. We get fairly deep in the swamp, leaving blaze marks to make sure we know the path we took. Follow a map to a high point in the swamp. John shoots a hog and prepares it like 50 meters from our camp. Lel, whatever. Those guys are on the ground, they can deal with the gators. Campfire in our camp and they cook it. Mates, why are you pushing this scent out next to where we're sleeping? Set up my hammock away from the idiots. John thumps his chest with his AK and says he ain't scared. Shoots a snake off a tree. Okay then, .jpg. We enjoy some noise pig and toss the scraps way away from camp as I advised. Nightfall. Gators getting around in the swamp. Bill yells out, "Make them gator babies." Keks were shared. John yells to me that if I hear screaming, just start blasting in the same direction he is. Settling down. Hear a motor. Oh shit. Boat passes through, presumably checking lines. We put the fire out and get quiet. Boat stops for a bit and we hear talking about a Laquiche or something. Probably some gator hunters. Eventually it moves away. Spooky. Head back to my hammock. Drop my bug net around for them mosquitoes. The real monsters. Finally get to sleep. Wake up the next day and pack up my hammock. Walk on over to their tent. They're still sleeping, big-ass gator footprints all around their tent. Wake them up by poking my head in and yelling. Almost get shot by Bill as he about shits his pants and scrambles for his AR. Me and John laugh at him. Suddenly I notice there's a tear in the tent near the top. about 4 inches long and almost 1/4 of an inch wide. Tell John that he shouldn't bring a battered tent out camping next time. He says it wasn't like that yesterday. We question Bill and he doesn't know shit per usual. John is pretty pissed that his tent got ripped. I pull out my little sewing kit and kinda patch it up. We pack the tent up and start heading back. Pass by where John threw the hog guts into the swamp. Little 4-foot gator ripped apart. Survival of the fittest, it tried to get an easy meal and became an easy meal by a bigger gator. Don't think much of it, but we're more mindful of gators now. First few blaze marks in and we're making good time. Suddenly we notice there's copies of our blaze marks on trees everywhere. They're kind of crudely cut in the trees, like someone just used a rock to scrape the trees. Not really a huge problem because after a little searching, the distinction between the real blaze mark is easy to make. Bill is shitting bricks at this point, convinced we're going to be attacked and eaten by mutant hillbillies like Wrong Turn or some shit he watches. Me and John just try to tell him it was probably someone who hunted that area that wanted to fuck with us. We're both kind of freaking out, because if it was someone messing with us, why were they so crudely made? We're making horrible time trying to get out. I declare that we have to set up camp again while we still have daylight to do so. Bill is reluctant and wants to keep going. I stare him in the eyes and ask if he wants to travel through gator swamps when he can't see, but only a focused bit of light from a flashlight, and remind him of all the snakes there too. He relents and helps John set up the tent. Makes me sleep in the tent with them. It's cramped. Bill is halfway on top of me during the night cuddling his rifle. He's not even sleeping, just staring at the repaired rip all night, flicking his head at every noise in the swamp. Can't get any sleep with him like this, but John is dead asleep. Suddenly hear something tromping out of the swamp towards us. Heavy walking and some breathing. What the shit is that? It circles the tent until it comes to the ripped side, cuts the seams again. Bill probably pissed himself at this point, has his rifle pointed at the side of the tent. John is still asleep on the side closest to this thing or person. I pull my flashlight out and shine it on the rip. Fucking eyes, white with black iris, looks to me and then dilates. A scream like a panther rings out and it steps back. Bill unloads his rifle through the tent, and John wakes up and starts shooting too. Hear wet footsteps through the woods as this thing books it away from us. We tear out the tent and form a triangle sitting back to back, scanning the swamp and the wood line. About an hour later, we hear it come back just inside the wood line. It's breathing heavily and grunting at us. I pull my flashlight out and tell my buddies to get ready to unload. I shine my light on this thing and it looks like a football player in a ghillie suit made of moss and shit. The bottom part of its face is kind of covered in hair, but the top part is hairless. White and piercing eyes with black dots. I squeeze the flashlight between my neck and shoulder and raise my rifle and unload with my buddies. It runs off through the wood line making a ruckus and squealing the whole time. Hear trees snapping off in the distance like this thing is throwing a temper tantrum. We're shitting our collective pants and Bill wants to make a run for it. John wants to go after it and finish it off. I say they're both idiots and that we don't know if there's more. Say we're better off in this position watching 360 degrees around us for if it comes back pissed off. I win. We sit there for about another 10 minutes listening to this thing in the distance fade out screaming and breaking shit. Then it just stops. John whispers, "You think we killed it?" Fuck if I know, mate. Am I no expert on monster hunting? I just came here to bullshit around in a swamp and maybe shoot a deer or something. We sit there for the most suspenseful and longest few hours of my life until the sun starts coming back up. Dead silence for the rest of the night. John wants to go looking for a body. Me and Bill veto that shit. We hurriedly pack the tent up and trek the other half of the way out and hop the fence to the parking lot. Get home. Recollect if I should have gone with John to look for a body.
In the hood at night, carrying a Ruger SP-101. Hear a door slam loudly a couple houses down. Incoherent talking from behind, kinda distant. Talking gets louder, closer. A man, obviously drunk, is talking to himself behind me. Man keeps getting closer. Snubbie saved me. .rtf. Man seems to notice me. In a heavily slurred voice, calls to me. Hey buddy, be careful round here at night. The power of 357 compels you. .sewf. Man finally turns a corner and stumbles away into the night. Quicken pace, nope, back home. Lock doors, sleep with the Snubbie by the bed.
Brother and I go on a camping trip on a remote lake in northern Maine. Canoe down the shore on a windy, cloudy day. The only sound besides the wind was the occasional mournful cry of a loon and the surprising splash of a startled beaver. Brother spots an abandoned cabin compound near the shore and suggests we go explore. Place is creepy as fuck. Roofs are caved in, grass is overgrown, place littered with just junk. Chains and old saw blades hang from trees and wooden posts, rotted car chassis sprawled everywhere, etc. Skulls everywhere, literally piles of moose skulls. Get the feeling we should leave, but brother is intrigued. Brother begins poking around an old rusted-out skidder when a mange-ridden, mostly furless fox begins to hobble out from under it. Nope. .jpg, run back, pull out the Tokarev and kill that motherfucker. Brother looks at me and says, let's get the fuck out of here. Both a little freaked out, so we get back in the canoe and start paddling. Get about 500 yards away when we hear a loud screech from the cabin, almost like an extremely loud pig. My brother and I have never gone back, and we've never told anyone else, because we know no one will believe us, and if they did, they would never understand just how fucked up it was. I have to say the whole thing made me a little superstitious. Maybe there are things we just can't explain.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.